This episode of It's the End of the World as We Know It and I Feel Fine was made possible by contributions from slaves like you. Thank you very much.
Oh my God. They found me. I don't know how, but they found me.
Run for it, Marty!
Who? Who do you think?
The Libyans!
Holy shit!
It's the
Riot Port Masturbatron.
Wake up, slaves, and welcome to this lubricated carnival of Smash. Smash. Smashing good times. I am your host, the Agitator. So get your lotion ready, because this week...
Yo, Agitator, what the fuck are you doing? What the fuck is going on?
Yes, that was awesome. Yes, yes. Uh-oh.
Alright, Joey, rewind that shit.
Wait.
I'm waiting.
It's the end of the world as we know it. I feel fine.
Good morning, slaves, and welcome to another edition of It's the End of the World as We Know It and I Feel Fine. Barack Obama's favorite TV show.
Go! 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 Take a shot! Oh! Come on, man!
I am your host, the Stimulator, and the British celebration of inbreeding went off without a hitch. Anarchists were expected to feast on asparagus and piss on this ridiculous display of misspent resources. But the limey pigs did their best to stop any troublemakers before any fun could be had.
Anyone here like the Human League? Okay!
Right, the music's too loud. The neighbours have been complaining. You just watch your steps, sonny.
Dick and Cat's little shindig cost about $500,000. A kick in the nuts of those British folks who face serious cuts to social programs and hikes in college tuition. While the Brits celebrated this ass-backward spectacle, another kingdom was trying hard to remain in power. Bahrain has been ruled by kings since the 1700s, and much like the British monarchists, these cousin-fucking pieces of shit think that God gave them all this power and that they are above the people and all sorts of idiotic nonsense. You would think that in the 21st motherfucking century, this obsolete form of governance would have been abolished. Well, the motherfucking Bahraini resistance has been trying to do that, and has been bravely fighting the repressive royal pigs since February of this year. The heavy boot of the king has been trying to stop the resistance, and has been torturing peeps and arresting doctors who treat the wounded. Over in the constitutional monarchy of Canada, a recent election...
What?
That's right, Agitator. Bet you didn't know that Canada is ruled by a queen.
Holy fucking shit.
Yep, that fancy-looking corpse also rules over the UK, New Zealand, Singapore, and Australia. But I digress. The constitutional monarchy of Canada just gave the Jesus-loving conservatives 4 more fucking years and a motherfucking majority. What this means is that America's nice neighbor to the north will continue to exploit
The motherfucking Tarzans.
more military, more repression, and more nuclear plants.
You're right. When the bullets are in, it definitely has a higher pitch.
Speaking of nukes, the motherfucking world has already forgotten that there's a radioactive crisis still going on over in Japan. But pompous fucking dinglebass like George Monbiot love nuke power way too fucking much.
I'm very worried that the global response to what's happening in Fukushima will be to shut down nuclear power stations around the world and to cancel future nuclear power stations.
Well, I say we put a nuke plant right next to your house, Monbiot. How do you like them radioactive apples?
Chill the fuck out, Agitator. Vandana Shiva took care of this silly little man.
I think it's wrong of George Monbiot to rubbish
the point of view of millions of people around the world, including governments, like the government of Germany said, we won't build any more nuclear power plants. China, which has put everything on hold. Now, these countries aren't crazy. They aren't a fringe. And I personally get disappointed when friends like George Monbiot think they are the wisest ones on this planet. And just because they have a column, they can switch everyone's way of thinking. There is an ancient recognition of the hazards of nuclear.
Pledge no allegiance, nigga, fuck the president's speeches. I'm baptized by America and covered in leeches. The dirty water that bleaches your soul and your facial features, drowning you in propaganda that they spit through the speakers. And if you speak about the evil that the government does, the Patriot Act attract you to the type of your blood. They try to frame you and say you was trying to sell drugs and throw a federal indictment on niggas to show you love. This shit is run by fake Christians, fake politicians. Look at their mansions and look at the conditions you live in. All they talk about is terrorism on television. They tell you to listen, but they don't really tell you their mission. They funded Al-Qaeda and now they blame the Muslim religion. Even though Bin Laden was a CIA tactician, they gave him billions of dollars and they funded his purpose. Fahrenheit 9/11, that's just scratching the surface.
Bin Laden didn't blow up the projects. It was yo, nigga. Tell the truth, nigga. Bush knocked down the tower. Tell the truth, nigga. Bush knocked down the tower. Tell the truth, nigga. Bin Laden didn't blow up the projects. It was yo, nigga. Tell the truth, nigga. Bush knocked down the tower. Tell the truth, nigga. Bush knocked down the tower.
Yep, Bin motherfucking Laden is dead. Or at least that's what Obama is telling us.
President Obama speaking from the East Room of the White House, telling the nation and the world President Obama is in fact dead.
Whoops. It seemed that since the Tunisian uprising, Americans were slowly becoming sympathetic to the cause of Muslims who are repressed by despicable douchebags in Africa and the Middle East. But 10 years after 9/11, and in one motherfucking instant, Barack Hussein Obama changed all that by ordering the lynching of Bin Laden and dumping his body into the sea. Now imagine what would happen if the Vietnamese executed Henry Kissinger and threw his body into a meat grinder, then fed his taco meat to hungry chihuahuas. Islamophobia has once again been reignited by Bin Laden's execution.
It's a great hour for USA, great day for USA!
To find out more about this disturbing phenomenon, I bring you Stephen Sheehy, author of Islamophobia, the ideological campaign against Muslims. Hey Stephen, how the fuck are you?
Fucking raw.
So, Stephen, what the fuck is Islamophobia?
Islamophobia is an ideological formation that rose in the 1990s and is around today that targets Muslims as something other than Western society.
Did Islamophobia begin with 9/11?
No, it didn't. Islamophobia precedes 9/11, even though 9/11 certainly kicked it into high gear and mainstreamed Islamophobia and made it more acceptable in the larger sort of mainstream culture. But Islamophobia, I would argue, starts at the end of the Cold War. The United States needs a new sort of ideological formation to replace their previous their enemy, the communists, and the Muslim is sort of there as a boogeyman that justifies new neoliberal policies in the Middle East, as well as the United States military presence globally.
So, do you think there's a motherfucking conspiracy against Muslims?
Islamophobia is not a conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy of the right, even though they're definitely proactive in perpetuating Islamophobic myths. Islamophobia is a formation that arises from mainstream white supremacist culture. And it's there to enable U.S. hegemony globally, as well as enable certain domestic policies. I think the mainstream media and mainstream white America is willing and active in perpetuating Islamophobia because mainstream white America benefits from the privileges that Islamophobia serves to perpetuate.
Can you give us some examples on how Islamophobia manifests itself? Look at it.
Right, well, the examples are too numerous to really discuss here, obviously, because they're so prevalent, but they're also prevalent because they work on several different levels. On the everyday level of brown Americans, right, where we experience Islamophobia, you don't have to be a Muslim to experience Islamophobia. There was a Sikh just recently shot in California, and they suspected it was probably because some Yahoo thought he was a Muslim. So the Islamophobia exists on the ground level, the everyday sort of street level for Muslims and brown people every day. And this could go from just good old-fashioned hate speech, harassment at school if you wear a hijab, or if you have a Muslim name, getting beat up, getting threatened at school. Those sorts of, just everyday sort of mild things, and to mosque burnings, which have happened extremely frequently over the past couple of years. But those are always ascribed to, radical fringe groups. And I think even more important when we think about how Islamophobia affects us today is to see how it's becoming increasingly institutionalized.
And how the fuck do we stop Islamophobia?
Number one, I think we should stop cooperating. I think if we look at mainstream Muslim organizations, they're all about cooperating with the government. If we look at the Peter King hearings, the defense of Muslims in the Peter King hearings was almost as Islamophobic as Peter King, right? The argument was that Muslim Americans are just as good Americans as everybody else. They go out and fight American imperialist wars. They go out and save white Americans who got blown up in the Twin Towers due to Muslim extremism, right? CARE has proactively worked with the FBI to ferret out homegrown terrorism for the past 10 years. I think at the level of being a Muslim in the United States, you have to stop cooperating, and an Arab American, stop cooperating with the United States government, which is here to do nothing but control your communities, if not destroy them. The other thing is I think we have to stop asking anything about Muslims. What are Muslims? Who are Muslims? Are Muslims good? Let us learn more about Muslims. That whole paradigm itself is one that is fundamentally racist. It presupposes this monolithic sort of other Muslim thing, person, whatever, that is different from us normal white Americans. So first thing is don't cooperate. Second thing is stop asking the wrong questions. And third thing is wanting to put together, which is smash the system.
Thanks, Stephen. And that about does it for this edition of It's the End of the World as We Know It, and I Feel Fine. Many thanks to all the slaves who put dinero in my sombrero to make this spicy falafel happen. Samantha, Richard, Ravi, Angela, Sony, and Philip. Abachi. I also want to let you motherfuckers know that you can watch my movie and motherfucking Civ for free at nciv.com. Also, the next edition is gonna be number 100, and I want to do a best of show. So to send suggestions of your favorite stimulations, just visit my fucking website, stimulator.tv. Salam alaikum, motherfuckers.